day to you, like on our own. But then you've gone on social media to write a piece to making it look, making the world think that you and that person are in good terms. And I think that's just one of the many cons of social media. It gives us this fake idea of physical connection, because many times some people, in fact, if you look at marriages too, there are many marriages, many relationships that look very beautiful online. I mean, if you see some couple goals picture, you'll be like, hey, me and my husband we're not even romantic. Whereas it's just pictures. Pictures never really tell the true story.
True.
And I think this is a call for us to take physical connection very seriously. Another story I remember, I'm always remembering stories. Someone said that he noticed that there was a time he and his family, they were around in the same house, and everybody was on their phone.
Yeah.
Everybody had something they were, in fact, not just on their phone, they were giggling and laughing. So it's almost like they had formed connection with people they could not see. Whereas those that were with them in the room were so distant from them. So I didn't want to talk about this story, but if you look at it, it's something that really applies to everyone.
Yeah.
The story I would love to talk about, or I planned to talk about, is about this whole
Natasha?
VDM. No, not
okay.
Natasha. I've left Natasha since.
I mean, I've not, though. We
Since
need to
January.
keep hearing what the update is.
The updates are not giving, it's not encouraging in that sense. It's still a circle movement. Do you get it? Until I see something really concrete. Let's talk about the other party rather than Natasha herself. Let's wait till then. But this one I wanted to talk about is on this whole strike thing. Remember the whole VDM, what I call it, parade, where he took some younger students for strikes and all. So he's saying that NANS plans mass demonstration against government's attitude to education as the indefinite strike by primary school teachers in the Federal Capital Territory enters its 100th day. The federal government has appealed for dialogue, unity, and swift resolution of the crisis. This is the shocking part that I was really not expecting. I'm trying to see if I can get it. Okay, it says here that the ongoing strike was sparked by the failure of the area council to implement the 70,000 minimum wage agreement signed in a tripartite memorandum of understanding on December 11, 2024. I was so shocked when I came across this, and I'm like, no, I have to open it. So the reason why this strike is even happening in the Federal Capital Territory for primary schools, a particular primary school, is because this minimum wage wasn't, wasn't for them. And that's shocking. Seeing the fact that it's coming from that side itself, like this is not just one random, I mean, I'm use the word random, that would be very bad of me. But this is not just any state that sometimes we have termed overlooked. This is one that's supposed to be the Federal Capital Territory, right? And why? Why is this happening at this point? I mean, we know, I think it was early this year that there were some claims that some states have not started implementing the whole minimum wage thing. I was even thinking that by now, because we've not had it over time, every state would have balanced up. Everybody is receiving the 70,000. I mean, even when the president came out to do 2 years anniversary or so, it was one of the things listed there. And some other states have been, implementing this. So why is it that these primary school teachers are not getting the bare minimum, as we'll call it, of 70,000? And now this is the 100th day strike. And sometimes I'm like, maybe it's even worth it. Because you look at it, your counterparts, your mates are receiving this amount from other states, and you in the Federal Capital Territory, you're not even getting the barest of minimum. So even though I don't always, tilt towards VDM's move, at this point I'm like, maybe it was necessary to even go about this whole thing. And I'm hoping that they go beyond dialogues, because a lot of dialogue. One thing that I really suffered in school was this whole dialogue with ASU, and it needs to even make me a bit agitated, because when I hear that there's dialogue, I'm like, oh, okay, give us 2 more months, because we know that these dialogues is always ending with nothing. Except when one party finally decides to step down, and it's not by dialogue, it's just by something else. Do you understand? And going by another story with this whole strike thing, I think SANU is, let me get the full name, that's the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities. They've asked the federal government to release the remaining 2-month withheld salaries of its members who participated in the 2022 strike. Else, they're going to have to go to another strike. So you see that sometimes some people are really overlooked in this system, some of them. And it's so sad that the people that are mostly overlooked are in the educational sector. It's easy to talk about energy, talk about agriculture, even governance and politics. But you see education, one day I'm hoping we'll have the real kind of conversation that will drive the change that we need in the education sector. Because I feel like they are the most overlooked. the most overlooked sector. Sometimes, even when solution comes, it's just to keep people's mouth shut for a while and let's focus on the others. Whereas education is like the major fabric of a society. Look at societies, look at the China that you're even so happy about. The reason why they are flourishing and progressing, and many other countries that are in a way stable, is because some of these sectors, like education, are given topmost priority, not just some other sectors. So seeing this whole strike, no strike, holding of salaries, I think this narrative should start changing. But that's not the story I have for you today. Do you want to comment on any?
I mean, it's just going to be repeating all the things you said. It's quite sad, to be honest, that we are at this point. We are still here, you know. And all the, you know, loans that Baba has been collecting.
There was even another story that mentioned that there's a particular loan, something that about not being able to repay it, despite promises and everything.
You can imagine. I mean, why...
It's okay. Don't cry.
This is literally what happens when you have people that really don't understand the worth of education. You don't know how important it is, how crucial it is that we are getting this right. When you have people that are just more concerned about every other thing than, you know, what the surface or what the grassroots is supposed to be looking like.
Yes.
Then it's more like we are just going to be crying and shouting and doing all of those things without anything positive
Education,
happening.
healthcare, they are the most important sectors to even pay attention to before I start looking at other economic reforms and everything. And I'm hoping that one day we'll pay major attention to this conversation. All right, this is where we wrap up the headline stories today. And when we come back, we're heading straight to the hot topic for today. Trust me, it's sizzling hot. We're discussing surrogacy and want to ask the question, should it be normalized, legalized? So if you want to comment on this, you should comment on this. Head now to our YouTube channel and we'll be waiting for you. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population and with little or no meaningful engagement leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.
All right, welcome back. Today's topic is a compelling and it's a timely one that touches on ethics, personal choice, women's rights, societal expectations, class, and even faith. Today, we're diving into a topic that's sparking strong reactions both online and offline. Should surrogacy be legalized? In an age where technology is redefining how we live and love, even the journey to parenthood is no longer what it used to be. But as science creates new options, society is forced to confront old beliefs. Public figures have taken strong stances. Solomon Buchi declared, if you can't have children the natural way, maybe you're not meant to be a parent. Diary of a Niger Girl, Ife, as popularly known, clapped back with audacity, asserting that women should choose the method that works for them. Kate Henshaw weighed in with concerns for fairness, calling for legislation to ensure the rich don't exploit the vulnerable in the name of surrogacy. So what exactly is surrogacy? A miracle, a market, or a moral maze? And we're going to unpack it all, the science, the sentiments, the spiritual arguments, and the societal implications. You don't want to miss any of this. But before we start the conversation, we'd like to give you context to this conversation by playing some videos from Solomon Buchi and Diary of a Niger Girl. Let's watch it.
No woman should attempt surrogacy except she no longer has a womb or for some reason she's unable to have children. Lies! Quick backstory. The other day I did a post and said if you're over 30, you're single and you want to have children in future, please freeze your eggs and every other thing I said. Internet people came for me. They said, Ife, people are poor. There's poverty in the land. Not many people can afford it. Even after I had said, this thing is expensive. Okay, listen, I'm about to trigger the internet people again. If you're a woman, you have no fertility complications, you can carry a child to term, and you decide by yourself that you don't want to do that and you want to use a surrogate instead, your decisions are valid. You don't owe anybody any medical report, apology, or an explanation. Let's make the story personal here. I have a womb. I don't have any fertility complications. I'm perfectly healthy, but I'm still going to use a surrogate. I know many people are genuinely curious. Anytime I say this, they will always ask, Ife, why don't you want to carry a baby? You know, you can carry a baby. You're healthy. I'm not going to tell you. I just don't want to use it. I don't want to use my womb, okay? You don't owe anybody any explanation. People expect that people who use surrogate or want to use a surrogate must have a tragedy story. It's not true. I don't have a tragedy story. Not everyone.
This might be very controversial. You do not deserve to be a parent if you want children, but you want to outsource the pregnancy to another woman just because you can, just because you have the money to. You don't deserve to be a parent because not only does it show me that you want to partake in the exploitative nature of commercial surrogacy, but it shows me that you see children as products, as pets that you can buy. This conversation is not about agency or freedom or your choice. This conversation is about children, ethics, morality, and how God views human life. People are so obsessed with my body, my choice. I can do whatever I want to do, such that they are blinded by the real-time consequences that their choice have on other people. It's the height of the worship of self when you make it all about yourself, and just because you can does not make it right. Surrogacy, especially elective surrogacy, turns children to products and turns women's wombs to rented properties. It diminishes God's design for life and turns it to a commercial transaction. The Bible says in Psalm 139, you knit me together in my mother's womb. So a woman's womb is not arbitrary. It's not random. It is the very sacred place that human life begins. And that should never be outsourced for ego or convenience. And you see some of these women, they don't want to go through pregnancy because they don't want to lose their perky boobs and their body and their belly. But some of them go under the knife for very intrusive procedures like BBL, like liposuction, but you don't want to subject your body to natural wear and tear for your own child. A lot of times when we have this conversation, we don't even talk about the child. When the beginning of a child's life is fragmented and it is separated into different distinct categories, it inflicts a primal wound on that child. I mean, children bond with their mothers even before they are born. They know the voice of their mothers even before birth. So the fragmentation of these processes actually inflict trauma on the child. It abolishes the intimacy of a husband and the wife and substituting them with...
All right, now this has to be one of the most controversial story I've heard in recent times on social media. You know, we're going to talk about surrogacy one time, but maybe we didn't have enough context to even talk about it. You know, there have been some supposedly proposed bill, or so some bill that were supposed to be proposed, yes, that had to do, pardon me, with childbirth and everything. I think surrogacy was supposed to be part of it, but we didn't get to even discuss it. But having to see the many contexts to this conversation, and somebody that always takes a middle stand in many things, because I've always never been one that is absolute with anything except probably my faith, right? As a Christian, I'm absolute with my faith. But you see, with some social concerns, and except for morals, what is rightly wrong and, you know, what should be right and wrong, ethics and morals. But some other things, I'm like, okay, let me hear what you have to say and let me hear what you have to say. Let's see if we can come to a balance. Yeah. I'm wondering if I'm going to apply the same with this particular conversation, because that's why I wanted us to play both of them side by side to listen to it. I think I like Kate Henshaw. We'll discuss our own part of this, our own stance to this conversation much later after the show. But I mean, two very influential figures have come out to talk about something that has to do, that's so controversial in that sense. Do you know what I firstly thought, having to see these two individuals?
Tell me.
Solomon Buchi and Dario of a Niger Girl are not just any public figures. They lead a community of people that will listen to whatever they do. And if Solomon Buchi didn't come out to probably, counter what Ife has said, I mean, some people would have just taken Ife's word like that. Some other persons would just take Solomon Buchi's word like that. What am I trying to say? I'm just trying to say that celebrities and some of these public figures, we don't know how much of an influence they have in shaping our mindsets. So there's nobody that should really glorify themselves in the sense that feel like I am the one that determines how I think. The truth is, we really do not determine how we think anymore. And at this point, if anybody has any idea and you're so strong about it, I would like to ask you where you got that idea from, because I'm pretty sure it will be from someone that you watched. The point is, at this point, taking away the conversation from surrogacy now, we really need to be careful with some beliefs that we hold dear. Because at the end of the day, they are not really our beliefs. It is somebody's belief that we have carried. We do not sometimes, they are saying of course, we don't sometimes know the implication of that statement until you see yourself acting otherwise and not being self-aware to know where this is stemming from. So you're almost acting without in oblivion. You're not aware to know where this is stemming from. Because I feel like anybody that make progress in life, firstly start with self-awareness. Once you know where this particular belief is coming from, it's easier to, look at things and everything. So I don't know why I went through that route, but just know that anything that you're holding strongly in your mind right now, you're not the one that made it so. You probably watched someone, and let's come back to the conversation of surrogacy. So Godriti, looking at those videos, what are your thoughts, firstly, on this whole idea of surrogacy? I want you to dissect Ife's point of view and Solomon's.
So, the problem now is I cannot say it the way it is because of my health, right? Because
of your health?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to talk too much. That's what I'm trying to say. So, for Ife, right, I get her point, but then it's going to not look like you are, advising people to not, give birth. And you know what? Let me come from this angle. Now, surrogacy is actually not a bad thing. And yes, you are a parent. If you decide not to do surrogacy, I really don't care what what's his name, what Buchi has to say on this one. I love Buchi a lot, you guys. I love him. I love how, he says certain things. And he actually says, I mean, unapologetically, really, he really doesn't care what you guys think, but then he has to, air out his opinion, right? But then, is the opinion making sense to me right now? On a scale of 100, 50%, Because if you listen to it, like I said, I get his point. But the part where you have to say that if you are involved or you want to do surrogacy, that doesn't make you a parent. Make it make sense to me, sir. What exactly are you trying to, say? That's my problem. When people say certain things, you somehow at the end of the day, Messiah, don't worry, happens to the best of us. I can understand. Now, coming to the angle Ife is on, to some extent, I understand what Ife is saying, but then I'm not going to, agree with that 100%, because saying that if you just want to do surrogacy, you can do it as you like. If you don't want to get pregnant, just do surrogacy. Those kind of things. Like I said, I get the point. For me, I've always thought about the mindset towards certain things. Where exactly are you doing something? The intention. Yeah. Why? That's what I'm even concerned about. Because if you are doing certain things because, just like, Solomon Buchi has said, because of your tummy, you don't want it to get big, you don't want this, you don't want that. To be honest, I don't know if that is even for the right reasons. But I know for sure that, surrogacy is supposed to be meant for people that cannot actually give birth naturally, right? You can't give birth, or you have probably a health condition that would not allow you to carry children for long, those kind of things. Yes, you can now, do surrogacy. But the parts where you're doing surrogacy because you don't want to lose your beauty, I just can never understand that. And I think it doesn't make any sense to me. Yes, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Some people, the people who always glorify human rights and right to your choices and, freedom, basically, would let you know that it is a legit reason to consider my body when it comes to any of this. And sometimes, I think, at the end of the day, society really is the one that shoots everyone at the leg.
To be honest.
That we have this rule because we wanted it to help everyone. Then there's another rule that comes to scatter everything again. There's a rule of moral and ethics and consideration, but then there's also that rule of freedom and choice, which a lot of people leverage on to do certain things they want unapologetically. So looking at Ife's stance on this whole conversation, she was coming more from an audacious point of view. And I think there is a lot of how would I put it? Her statement, I'm seeing beyond the surrogacy she's talking about. I'm seeing more of a human rights thing.
Yeah, that's what it is.
What I mean is a woman's right.
That's what it is. That's what she said.
Hold on, let me land on how I want to really land my point. So it's because I think there was a part in our conversation where she said that sometimes the reason why people question this is because they ask a woman, how dare you consider things like this? And you know, we've always had conversations about how women's choices are questioned, not just for giving birth. A woman that chooses not to get married as well is questioned by the society. Somebody will ask her, how dare you not want to, you know, what do they call this one now? Subdue and multiply on earth. How dare you say... How dare you say you don't want to? So I think that she was trying to open up a broader thing beyond reproduction. It was more about what a woman should and should not do and how unapologetically she can be, because she's been a community leader and she speaks a whole lot on women's rights, you know, how women can be confident. I mean, she even owns a skincare line. So you understand that she's very pro-woman. But I think maybe there was a little stretch to how people can interpret it. I always say that heavy is the head that wears the crown. There should be some, I'm too young to be saying this, but I will say it still. You can mean something right, and then the way your words are put out will give another person another inclination to it and make them do the wrong thing. So the whole point, I think, Solomon, which was even trying to counter, was having to commercialize. There was now the over-commercialization she put into it. Because I believe, firstly, that, like you've rightly mentioned, surrogacy wasn't meant to be a bad thing. Because look at today, science has evolved, right? People suffer. One of my friends was telling me about, let me even go quite emotional now. There was a time we were walking on the road and she was recounting certain childbirth issues from some people that she has known. And the thing was quite scary that women really go through a lot to give birth. Some go through depression, anxiety because they cannot conceive. So it's a really crazy conversation, honestly. It can be very lightweight, but if you know the intricacies of this, some people go through extreme. I've heard of people that they never really recover from pregnancy, in the sense that their body changes and it has already changed. Somebody said that till now, her eyesight has not gotten better ever since she gave birth. I have never given birth, so I cannot relate to any of this, but I hear stories, I'm like, wow, women, we are really trying. Do you understand? So looking at all of these things, I can understand that childbirth is a very sensitive one. So many times you really need to know the kind of stance you take towards it, and you mustn't, how do I put it, you mustn't disregard different people's opinion as regards childbirth. For example, the reason, I'm going to come back to a lot of things, but I think I'm mumbling some of my words right now. But the first thing is that Dara, the Nigerian girl, was talking beyond, what I saw from her conversation was beyond surrogacy. It was more of reproduction. It was more of women's right, basically, liberalism, and how women can be audacious with whatever choice they want to make. And Solomon Buchi came out, I think, you know, because Solomon Buchi is a very religious person, and he has this great, you know, stance with God's design, how things should be. So he was more concerned about how do things the way God wanted it to be done. But that's also an extreme, because what would you say for someone who has tried that God's way and eventually didn't have a child, and she actually wants to have a child? So a surrogate can seem like the most, I mean, some other options to them. So
he said they should do adoption. Some
people ask, what if the cause of not having that child is from one party? I mean, the other party can procreate, the other party can't. And they want to have their own child that has their own DNA. I don't
That's
think
the reason why all of these other things came out. The IVF, the surrogacy.
So there's a lot of balance that we can see there. Now, the question I want to ask is, I think I want to ask about what Kate Henshaw talked about, which is the regularization of all of these things. Because another angle that Ife brought to her conversation is making it look like, I have the money, I'm wealthy, I don't want to subject my body to pregnancy scare and everything. Let me outsource it. And then I remember Kate Henshaw was saying that, yeah, this was a good initiative, but there's a way this can be turned upside down. And then it's like a very useless commercialization where any young person, you know, there was a time in school that somebody was like, if you don't have money, you can go and sell your eggs.
Oh, yes, I've heard that.
I'm like, what are we now commercializing? Everything that should be sold? Just like today, that some people have been saying that anybody can sell anything. Once you know how to spin this board, you can create a course and say, let me teach you how to spin this board in 5 different ways for 5,000 naira, sell it on Seller or Self-Any, and people are buying. So everybody commercializes things a lot. So do you think that even with the commercialization of this surrogacy, what kind of regulation do you think we can put in place so that some people are not exploited, especially the poor, people who are surviving? Because imagine if a rich person goes to somebody that is staying in a very terrible location in Nigeria and offers that person 3 million naira. They would want to carry that child for you for 9 months because where would they get 3 million naira from? Do you understand? So it almost seems like, is this not exploitation in that sense? Was this person initially willing to carry this? Do you understand what I'm saying? So what kind of regulation do you think we can have?
So you think this whole exploitation business here, I don't know, it's sounding just a bit for me. There's just a way, you know, I'm hearing it, probably I'm hearing it differently, you know. Because, I mean, if I see someone today and I have a conversation with the person and I say, oh, can you be my surrogate? And the person brings
help, your help. I think the conversation should build. While some people, I think the conversation should build. While some people, where I think the manipulation comes in is when they just throw money at you because they know that you will eagerly want to take the money, whether or not you understand the intricacies of what project we're actually going to.
Okay.
Do you understand what I mean by that?
That makes sense.
But I want us to take a very short break, so we'll come back to analyze this. Please stay with us and let us know your thoughts on this particular topic. Welcome back, viewers. We're discussing, I say controversy. Actually, it's very controversial. So I would most likely say controversy before you even know the topic of the controversy, which is surrogacy. And we want to really ask if this should be normalized. A lot of public figures, people who really determined thought pattern for almost many Nigerians today have come out with very extreme, I would say extreme beliefs towards it, because it's as if both of them took this side of the rope and this side of the rope. There was no balance in their conversation. And for public figures, I don't think speaking like that is the best way to speak, because you are not just addressing audiences that are from the same background as you. You're addressing audiences that are very, do you understand? So I feel like there should always be balance in the conversation. And we're talking about, you know, exploitation in surrogacy, and you know, you mentioned your own point, and I said that exploitation can really happen with surrogacy because money is involved. And I've heard that it's not just 20K, it's millions of naira.
Yes.
In a society where people are struggling, are surviving, the economy is not booming and such, anybody can see this as transactional. I would not be shocked if university students start taking this as side hustle. Do you understand? I was so shocked to hear that people sell their eggs, not because you want to advance I mean, not because you want to help somebody who doesn't have ego, just because you want to have just 100K, 120K. There was even one blog I read where somebody was exploited for selling her eggs. So she was told that she'll be given this amount of money, and eventually, after this severe pain she went through, they didn't give her the complete money. So that's exploitation at the end of the day, right? And now let's talk about the legalization. Before that, I wanted to say something.
No, I just wanted to say that, you know, for all of these things not to keep happening or repeating itself. I mean, that's the reason why there was a bill passed in the first place in the National Assembly. And at this point,
I know we criticized that bill because we felt like they were concentrating on what was not important at that point. Remember?
Yes.
I think that's how the
I will
conversation...
still criticize if it doesn't have the right reforms or the right things put in. Yes. So I believe that there should be things like, first, the medical field should be the one doing all of this surrogacy, bringing mother and surrogates together, so that we don't have that exploitation come out in that sense, where I can just see any random person and tell the person be my surrogate and pay the person money.
That one can be very dicey because some people want surrogates that are from their lineage. Do you get it? Feels easier when the person carrying my child is like from a distant family tree, in the sense that we still share the same blood, sort of, because it feels weird having to have a total stranger from nowhere. We don't even know the background of this person carry my child. So that one is going to be quite dicey, having to put medical personnel as the middlemen of ensuring.
I feel like that's how it should be,
parties.
to avoid a lot of things, really. Because even, you see, when we have the medical people doing all of those things, they're even there to now check the person's, hereditary, mental health, their health in general, so that you're able to even know, so that you don't get, at the end of the day, you don't have a child where you start having to also spend and spend and spend. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Yes, I get
So I feel like following that route is even safer, is easier, and maybe a bit more even faster.
I don't agree to that one.
No, I actually agree.
Because you just bring any random person to want it. Because when couples decide to use surrogates as their option, it's a very emotional one, because it's even a risk.
Okay.
I don't know how IVF and the other options work, but this surrogacy one is a risk. This person can grow an emotional bond for my child. Do you understand? So this has to be somebody.
It's business now.
Okay. When it comes to, I told you that this business is not the normal kind of business we're doing. This is
but
business
you cannot
that
also
now
take out the
involves
part
blood.
that there's business.
Literally blood at this point. Do you know what it means to, like Buchi has said, to bond a mother has with the child.
I know.
So there's always that scare. So having to just use someone random that the medical personnel picked, it's not like we're just donating blood. Do you understand? Somebody's going to carry my child for 9 months.
So what would now be the solution from your end now?
The solution should be more legal in that sense.
So we should have laws. So we should have laws like penalty if
there should be penalties.
When exploitation happens.
Exactly, and then there should be care for the surrogate mothers. I would even love if the surrogate mothers live with the couple. Yes.
Why are you doing this?
What is Let them live. You have chosen that business now. So you will not carry the child and I don't know where in Lagos you are in. Is there a tracker to know where you are going to per time? I think for some, because if you are doing this business, you should also know that this is a very intentional one. It's high risk. Do you understand? And it's going to stretch me a whole lot. So if the couples can agree, the surrogates in that sense can stay with them. Or at least
for the 9 months.
Yes. That's part of it. Because the care you are giving to that woman is not just financial care.
No,
you should also emotionally care for her.
Yes.
You should mentally be available for her because she's going through a whole lot, 9 months, carrying your child that somehow you couldn't carry based on whatever reason. So I think the care should not just be financial. That's where it looks very commercialized. When it's just about, oh, I paid you, when it's 9 months, bring the baby. No. It should be a total package. There's the financial package, there's the emotional one, there's everything involved. I think if we have that kind of framework, maybe exploitation, commercialization, and in fact even the other side of it, where some of these surrogates carry the child, and they disappear. I've heard of stories where a particular surrogate is like, I know they give this speaking back, I'm already bonding with the child and this child will be mine. But if from beginning you were staying with this parent and you knew how expectant they were towards the child, maybe not. It wouldn't have happened. What do you think?
So I really don't know about coming to live with me and my husband.
That's as if you're considering it, though.
But I mean, anything can happen, really. Never say never. But then I can maybe agree to giving you a house or wherever you're staying, making it comfortable for you, coming to see you. You can literally come over sometimes. I'm not the one that you come and stay in my house with me and my husband. That's not
So they'll be staying far.
Not far per se. But, I mean, don't you have a house before you actually even agree to these
But
terms
then
and
you
conditions?
gave me a job that is beyond what a normal job looks like.
I don't understand. A job is a job.
Okay, if that's what you want, I will go to Abuja and once you're in Lagos, by that 9 months, you will come and ask for your child and you won't see it anymore.
Why exactly am I getting a surrogate that is in Abuja? What happens to all the women in Lagos?
Oh, some people can't travel back to Abuja. You're forgetting that this is a very, very risky business, by
It's
the
a
way.
risky
So
business.
to mitigate a lot of risk, we need to bring them very closely. But I mean, honestly, going back to what I think should even be more important in all of this conversation is empathy for people who struggle to have children. My conversation with my friend that day made us a little scared. In fact, we had to even start using affirmation and say, God, when it's our turn, please help us. You know, childbearing is not going to be difficult. Not to mock people. Of course, definitely not. Anything can happen to anyone. Some people were totally chaste in that sense. They were healthy. They lived healthy. They had all the healthy living. They didn't eat junks. Just think of all the kind of healthy perspectives to have to a woman, and then they still have to face some of these problems. So society can just become lenient in how they treat some of these people. When I mean society, I mean family members, I mean cousins, I mean people that just give random remarks. You people have been married for too long now. When are we expecting a child? It's a conversation that should be outdated, but we know that we keep talking about these things and we do what we want to do, right? It's a conversation really that we've had. Surrogacy, a topic that isn't just about science, but about choice, rights, emotions, and ethics. It forces us to really ask what really makes a parent: biology, intention, or love? And as a society, how far are we willing to go in supporting new ways of building families without losing sight of fairness, dignity, and protection for the vulnerable? So whether you are for or against or somewhere in between, the important thing is that we're talking about it and challenging the norms that no longer serve us. Till next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and keep the conversation going, because that's how change begins. And to our viewers, thank you for joining us on this important discussion. Ensure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV. Interact with us further, of course. We'd love to hear all of your comments on this. And we'll see you again tomorrow, Wednesday, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Bye.